And welcome back, Team DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. Y'all know what time it is. Another day in paradise. Something nice, right? And welcome back, Team DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. Now that y'all see that I got that part out the way, right? Gotta make sure I'm in my own chat. Shout out to the we ain't gonna say that no more. Shout out to the chat though. But anyways, how y'all doing today? Anybody on the replay game? I'm in here for right now, so y'all get to see the best of me. Shout out to Big Me in the building, cause I'll be showing up. I'll be showing up. Anyways, let me get some intervention music in here, cause they gonna be mad about this one. Next to hit them in the head with this one, yeah. Appreciate that. I got that link pinned to my YouTube chat. Shout out to the YouTube chat. We'll play this real quick while I get this ready. Why they so mad? Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started. I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating. Don't talk about popping no tag. I been the block cause I'm patient. Come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, but now you done seen it. I hope that you ready so mad. Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started. I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating. Don't talk about popping no tag. I been the block cause I'm patient. Come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, but now you done seen it. I hope that you ready to clash. Yeah. Graduated from the streets at the top of my class. You run the world and let's get it. I told you I live it. All you had to do was just ask. I know before I was chilling, just trying to get millions. Now all of that shit in the past. I take it up to the ceiling, however you willing, just so that you ready for class. Run down, I do this shit with no mask. But they won't call it a race, we gon' laugh. Cry like a baby when you get back at them. They hit for the now, but they never gon' last. Why? Slip through my life like a turtle, but you get too close and I'm ready to snap. Rules to the game and they all universal. If you break a rule, then you never come back. Living my life, I'm just chilling. Big plate, I'm gonna eat. They gonna eat out the trash. Once they find out you a clown, gotta leave at the time that you never come back. I sit around when they counters. I'm loving the sound that it make when they get to a stack. And I show nothing but love. But if you a hater, then fuck ya. I know I so mad. Cause they see me on the come up. I'm just getting started. I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating. Don't talk about popping no tag. I've been the block cause I'm patient. Come back in the year and that check that you roll to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it. I hope that you ready so mad. Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started. I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating. Don't talk about popping no tag. I've been the block cause I'm patient. Come back in the year and that check that you roll to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it. I hope that you ready to clash.
100K play. Honey Bun K, you don't want smoke with this right here. I know what you say. Swear by your way.
What DJ is?
Like, yeah, watch what you say. Don't become crazy.
Internet so damn weird. Big business, no suit.
Said that truck, no coupe. Long leg, room, big shoes.
Mirror crop.
All my options full. All my options fools. Hard cold like ice cubes. Always woke no
Hey, y'all know this shit slap. Y'all ain't checking out the what up, Piff? Y'all ain't checking out the Green Table podcast. Y'all fucking up every Sunday. What do you say?
You just a whole nigga.
Why they so mad? Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started. I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating. Don't talk about.
Anyways, now that I got my chest set up, I got Spider Pig in the building. Y'all gotta go check out that boy Spider Pig. I be getting it in every Saturday with Super Saturdays. And if y'all want to do anything else, just let me know and we'll talk about that in the comments, right? Out to the comments. You dig? What am I doing right now? I'm putting some wax into the cigar before I put the tree in the cigar. So, we got us a project blunt. Shout out to the projects. I had y'all a project blunt. Hell, I might just throw this whole big fat piece of this in here, like blip. See that? Yeah. Let's put 1 + 1 and make 2, right? Anyways, today's video topic is going to be hydro versus organic. And guess who we gonna go through and review a video from? The big homie, Mr. Grow himself. He got another interview he did with somebody that's highly
intellectual and experienced in the field, so he can give us a good insight on both sides of the playing field, right? Because everybody's team whatever. I'm team DWC. You might be team organic. You might even be team no grow. If you're team no grow, I don't know what the hell you're doing here besides finding me highly entertaining. Hey, let me put my face on there when I say some shit like that. Let you find me highly entertaining, which I appreciate that, right? Hey, shouts out to your boy. We've been doing this YouTube thing for over 3 years now. Shouts out to the 3 year celebration, because for those who don't know, I didn't make my first short video until after my birthday, 2021. Fast forward, it's 2024 and we just had a birthday. So for those who know, you know. And if you didn't buy me a coffee, I appreciate that. Hell, I don't need y'all pumping my head up. What am I gonna do with some extra money? I've already been getting my bread up. Hell, we've been building the business, making an LLC. Y'all ain't trying to invest, or y'all have been on to buy me a coffee. Shouts out to the buy me a coffee, because hell, the people that's there know what we're talking about, right? Right. This thing is not gonna burn right at all. I already know. That's the only reason why I quit putting wax in these for real, because they don't never burn right. But we're just gonna be super fly today because we got a super fly video. You know what I'm saying? Who in the chat? Let me see. G Mama Grows in that building. The Bud Files came through. Y'all know to go check out Sue every day. She got something for you. He said everything hard over here in them 1 gallons. Shouts out to them 1 gallons, boy. Hey, I know how that be. What up, G Mama Grows? Y'all know to go check her out. She's in my top 10 buy me a coffee video. If you ain't went check out her buy me a coffee yet, y'all know y'all doing yourself a disservice. I ain't gonna tell you. Y'all know y'all got that fear of missing out, and y'all definitely missing out a lot messing with G Mama Grows. You got a wrench, go ahead, click them 3 dots, and then hit that go to channel. Then when you go to her channel, make sure you find her buy me a coffee link too. Don't be a stranger, right? You want to be well known so you can get you some support out here too. But anyways, I can sit here and talk all day, but since this video is a little bit long, and I know y'all ready to get to it, so let's get into it, right? Because you can sit here and look at me all day and be like, man, I better take notes on how to get handsome. And by the way, I did get something free this week, so y'all definitely know I'm here. It wouldn't made your boy shave. I was like, how I get something for free and I ain't even shaved up? This chick must like the beard game. She's like, yeah, the beard game was on point. Go ahead, just take the free Mountain Dew. We know you need that. Hey, hell, I appreciate it though. You know what I'm saying? Hell, save me a $1.75 at Quick Trip on getting that tall boy Mountain Dew. Because we need them in our system, especially to keep our level of productivity up. Anyways, flipping the camera. I'll see y'all in a minute, right? Because we finna get into it. Shout out to the playlist, though. Y'all ever need some videos made and don't know what your video topics is, I do give consultations. You see what I'm saying? I mean, just your monetization coach just to be over here sounding good, right? We're going to help y'all get that bag. Shout out to the bag getters, because, they ain't going to get themselves. You're going to have to shut up, little dude. I said, you're going to have to shut up. I don't want people to ask me why I got children running around like I can't control my environment.
I'm not a kid. I'm basically not a kid.
Well, in Sparta, your ass would be in the desert. So don't remind me to get Spartan around this motherfucker.
Shut up.
Anyways, let's get to the playlist. Click.
Remember, quitting drugs is viewed more positively than never taking them. Until we meet again.
Now, today's video topic is also what we describe here as a nigga moment. Because there's going to be a lot of motherfuckers in the comments don't get their feelings hurt. But, hey, it's cool because, I let them know we do both around here. We do organic and we do hydro. So, if you ain't down with feeling both sides of the fight, you're going to be stuck in a real nigga moment yourself. Be on lookout.
Watch where you walking, nigga. Hey, what you say, nigga?
Watch closely. You're about to experience a nigga moment. Webster defines the nigga moment as a moment when ignorance overwhelms the mind of an otherwise logical Negro man,
What did you say, bitch nigga? Hey, squeeze it, nigga.
causing him to act in an illogical, self-destructive manner, i.e., like a Negro. Unpredictable.
Hey, wait, man, wait. This is stupid. Hey, you right, dog. Look, let's put the guns away and go on about our business. Freeze!
They all end up bad. If they had their own category, nigga moments would be the third leading killer of black men behind pork chops and FEMA. It's a fact. Now let's see how a nigga moment affects a white man.
Watch what you walking, bitch.
What did you? Wait a
Wait a
minute.
minute.
I'm white.
Where you going? Don't you ignore me. This is a perfectly good moment to throw your life away.
Nope. So that's the only thing I don't like about doing that this way. It be trying to hop to the next video because my playlists just keep going. Let's get to the main content of today's video review.
Welcome
Shout
to
out to
Garden Talk
Mr. Grower.
Podcast, where we interview growers from all over the world, both beginners and experts,
That
seeking
was
to learn
Frosty.
more about what
No,
they
that
know
was
about gardening
East Coast.
and how they do things in their garden. What's up, everybody? If you that don't know me, my name is Chris, aka Mr. Grow It, and you're tuned into the Garden Talk Podcast. This is episode number 108. In this episode, I interview Adam Dunn. He has been gardening for 30 years and is the host of the Adam Dunn Show, which I'm sure a large handful of you are familiar with. He has experience growing with several types of hydroponic systems and also has experience with organic gardening. And that's what we talk about in today's episode, organic versus hydroponics. If you want to see highlights of these podcast episodes, search Garden Talk Clips on YouTube. That is a channel dedicated to short clips of these podcast episodes. I want to acknowledge that one of my goals for this podcast is to bring free gardening information of all plants to the general public. That being said, I'd like to thank the sponsor.
Now, we already know bringing people free information is always going to be one of the cannabis community's high staples of achievements that we would all like to perpetuate. But, you know, for those who don't know, it do take money to keep shit going. So therefore, yeah, we want to give you free information, but at the same time, when we have to repeat ourselves, y'all supposed to pay for that. I ain't going to keep having to tell you. It's a repetition fee. I told you once for free on YouTube. Hey, watch the videos.
Of today's episode who helped make that goal possible. Thanks to AC Infinity for sponsoring this episode. They now have supplemental lighting called the Ion Beam. I have the Ion Beam S11 grow light bars, which are 11 inches long and use Samsung LM301H diodes, but they also have the Ion Beam S16, which are 16 inches long and use the same diodes. It comes with a light controller with 4 light intensity levels and timer settings. I'll have a link in the description section below so you can learn more about their supplemental lighting, and the discount code MrGrowit15 works on both Amazon and their website, acinfinity.com. And we're back. Welcome to the Garden Talk Podcast. Today I'm joined with Adam Dunn. How you doing today? I'm doing good. How about yourself? Doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. So you've been requested by a large handful of my viewers. A lot of people familiar with your show, which I'm sure you'll talk about in your introduction here. But before the introduction, let's reveal the topic: organic gardening versus hydroponics. So you've done both methods, and I'm really interested to hear how you've grown those ways, tips, tricks, stuff like that. But first, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into gardening.
Sure. My name is Adam Dunn, and I've been into gardening now for 30 plus years, it looks like. It's crazy how time flies, right? When I was growing up, my grandfather was a head groundskeeper at a golf course. So we had the greenest lawn in the block. You know, it's like you come down our street, it was all crabgrass everywhere except for our house, perfectly green grass. And but he always had a good garden and kind of, you know, Greek heritage, you know, so they tend to love to have their little victory gardens still. So, you know, I was back in New England, which is an amazing place for growing anything, really. It's different, right? We're out here in Colorado now, it's dry, and there's quite limiting on certain things we can do. And I go back to East Coast and see my friends growing pumpkins and things, and just like, wow, the corn, and, you know, just all the different, like, just the quality of the vegetables and things coming out of there is amazing. So
That's a big difference. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, and now I live in
Same thing.
Las Vegas. A massive difference.
Exactly the same vibe difference. Yeah, exactly, because it's just like, you know, the lack of humidity makes a huge difference. That's one thing. You just like here in Colorado, we are constantly battling that. You know, there's never enough water.
Yeah, it's very dry out there, similar to how it is where I live. So, what about your show? How did that all come about?
You know, like a lot of things, evolution you know, I came to Colorado in 2010 I lived in Amsterdam for 21 years. And so I came here in 2010 and, you know, I was on a lot of other people's shows. I was on the John Doe radio show, which was like a local show here in Colorado. And it was really instrumental, I think, because it really, like, his show was like a beacon that brought people to Colorado because they were like, I can't believe this is happening. You know what I mean? So they all came out to see the changes happening in Colorado. And I rolled into town and I was like, yeah, I'll come on your podcast, and hung out with them for a bit. And I realized I really quite liked the format. I got a lot to say. I got a lot of stories, you know what I mean, after living there for so long, and really felt like it was a good medium to work with. And now it's been 10 years. It's crazy. So again, like time flies, right? So all of a sudden it's 10 years later and we're still rocking and rolling. And
that's the good thing about actually, starting to get into things that you enjoy to do, because you'll enjoy doing it. And before you know, it's been 10 years of doing it. So you don't mind the hustle and the everyday parts that go into it. Because guess what? It's not work. It's the work you wanted to do. You see what I'm saying? If it's the work you chose to do, you should be happy you're doing it, right? We don't care about being happy, but if you get lucky enough to be happy in the work you're doing, hey, that's a bonus right there. Shout out to the bonus points. Shouts out to anybody that's trying to get in there. We almost had our 8 views on Rumble. Well, not almost. We had 8 viewers on Rumble. Appreciate that. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to your boy. And, we're going to keep it going with the Grow Talk, because that's what we do over here. We do a lot of talk. You know what I'm saying? Team Deepwater Cultivating. We cultivating growth in everybody. Hey, you ain't got to have a green thumb. You just got to have a thumb that can hit that like button, right? That's a good one. We might have to sell that one. Your thumb ain't got to be green. It just has to hit that like button. Shouts out to that.
I think, as you know, podcasting right now is like the last sort of free creative place to be. Like you're, as long as you're not working for somebody else, if you're doing your own thing, you can create your own lane, which is rare in this world. You know what I mean?
Thank you, your buzz.
Actually do that with. So podcasting is a great way to
Jim
get to
10
people.
What up, Corey?
Connect. It's
been a long time, motherfucker. I'm here every week.
I love the no rules part. It's my favorite.
That's awesome. And for
Where
those
you
tuning in,
been?
Particularly on YouTube, I'll definitely have a link to Adam's channel down in the YouTube description section below. And if you're tuning in on one of the podcast platforms,
Given that P. Diddy got arrested and Corey still coming in my chat, I'm glad to see that you wasn't in none of his indictments and cases. We know Corey's a wild boy. Y'all be looking out for them Gym 10 products, because they be out there doing it, right? He said we signed deals with Diddy and all of that. But y'all gotta go check out Gym 10. Use, TWP popcorn for a 5% discount whenever you order some of their products, because your boy been out here networking. Got another little lightweight sponsorship. We gonna make it a big one here in a minute, right? Right. Y'all know how we do. Let me see, get on the chat. Shouts out to the chats.
just search for the Adam Dunn Show. It'll pop right up on YouTube. You're on podcast platforms as well, or what?
Oh yeah. I think we're on like 9 different platforms now. We go through Restream, so they go on all of them. And it's actually, the numbers have been going crazy too. It's like I really don't pay attention to those things, and I'm not really like beholden to numbers and trying to get higher viewership and stuff. But what we have noticed is just organically it's grown over time, and now we're hitting like 150,000 a month or so.
Now that's some of that BS. One thing you always do is make sure you know your numbers. And like they said, organic growth is cool, but it doesn't matter how you grow as long as you grow. It ain't got to be organically held. You know how many subs I done bought? All of them, motherfucker. You see how many people in my chat right now? 4 of them. Half of me. Except for on Rumble. Everybody over there is by themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't be on Rumble when I'm on Rumble. I'll come back through and see if I got any comments, and if not, I just keep it moving. I hope the people that like the video like the video. But as far as the organic growth, as far as YouTube and all that stuff, nah, The only thing you got to do is get 1,000 subscribers. Then after you hit the 1,000 subscribers, you never worry about where your subs are because you already qualified. See, YouTube gave you qualifications. Once you meet said qualifications, then you just enjoy the rest of your time there, right? Because you already know I've created the opportunity to get paid from doing this. I've met the 1,000 subs and the 4,000 watch hours. Then after that, then you stop worrying about the numbers because those are the only numbers you need to worry about. Whether you got 1,000 subs or 100,000 subs, the money YouTube is gonna see will be the same until they tell you you've reached the next pay grade. Shouts out to reaching those pay grades because yeah, it is what it is.
Something like that on average, which is really good because if you could just imagine 150,000 people in one place, it's quite a good crowd. You know what I mean? You start getting those crowds together, you're like, all right, we're getting somewhere.
Congrats on all your success. That's not easy to do at all. So that's a huge accomplishment there.
Yeah, I think the key to the whole thing, if anybody out there is listening and they want to start a podcast, number one thing is be consistent. Right? Don't
What up, Matt?
do one and then maybe a few months later I'll do another one. Nobody they want to see you on. Like we missed a couple here and there, but it's always been just major circumstances. But for the most part, it's always like you feel it in your heart. Like I gotta do this, man. I gotta be there. They're waiting on me. You know what I mean? So it's a good feeling.
I can vouch for that as well. Consistency is definitely key when it comes to that.
Oh, 100%. The worst thing is when somebody says, "Oh, is that podcast still on?" You're like, what? Every week? Yeah. So you want to make sure people know. Yeah.
Well, that's also because YouTube is one of those platforms. They kind of shoot themselves in the foot half the damn time. They get people on here that actually like to, make their content and do their thing, but then at the same time, you make them jump through unnecessary hoops on top of having to worry about their freedom of speech being impended upon, right? Shouts out to all y'all that love that First Amendment, right? I'm sitting here talking shit right now because, First Amendment, hell, I can say things I can't say. The one thing you got to remember, though, don't fumble the bag trying to say what you want. You just got to remember to be qualified. Well, am I qualified to get money here? Yes. Well, let me make sure I get the money I'm qualified for and then say what I want to say on Rumble. Shouts out to Rumble because, that's exactly the other reason why we have a Rumble, because they still let you have the accessibility of speaking how you would like. Shouts out to Beat After Beat. If y'all didn't go catch up with him yesterday, which I know who was in his chat yesterday, so a lot of y'all mother lovers need to go over there and hit up Beat After Beat and show him some love on that like button. What we say, you ain't got to have a green thumb, but that like button better be like lit up, right? Shout out to them likes. Cause that be what it be. Man, the only thing it's about hell. You can either like or buy me a coffee. I'll leave that choice up to you. Shout out to my big homie Beat After Beat, because that show yesterday was off the chain. I was there. I was there. All right, let's get into it though. Hear this conversation. I ain't even lit up the blunt yet.
Our topic today. I want to start with hydroponics. I'd like to know, to begin, what hydroponic systems are you familiar with, and what ones have you used in the past?
So when I was living in Holland, actually, so when I moved there in '89, it was like that is like the crown jewel of hydroponics, right? I mean, as far as it's either Ein Gedi in Israel or it's Aalsmeer in Holland. Those are like the two critical spots, right? Aalsmeer is where all the greenhouses are outside of Amsterdam, and when you fly in, right? That's the thing as a grower. When you fly into Amsterdam, it's almost like nowadays flying into Colorado, right? You come in at night and you see all the lights, and you're like, "That's a grow, that's a grow, that's a grow, that's a grow." You can spot them out. And in Holland, right, the airport is right where the greenhouses are. So when you land, it's like you're coming into like, there it is, So it really gets you going. So when I got there, I really wanted to learn everything I could about hydroponics. I really was super focused on it. I was into aeroponics at the time. I became and after a while, I became the distributor for General Hydroponics in the Netherlands, which, now if I look back, I'm like, oh my God, I literally had them by the balls, you know what I mean? So I was really like, oh, I have the best food in the world, because really General Hydro definitely changed the game for indoor growers on hydroponics, because it really gave you an ability to adjust your formulas a little bit, even if it was just minor adjustments like 2-1-1 or 2-2-1, or it was quite simple. You had your grow, your flower, your micro, and you could bounce it back and forth between those. But in Holland, it was like, they're growing on acres and acres and acres of greenhouse, like massive scale. Flowers, vegetables, everything, everything under the sun. But they're also doing it from a Dutch pragmatic and economy of scale type situation. So when you start talking acres of anything, every penny counts, right? So for them, hydroponics is based on economy, and it's based on the ability to push things through the system fast, because they have the largest flower distribution centers in Holland, right? And it's like the airport they have their own area at the airport where they do their auctions, and they bring all the flowers in, bring it all in, ship them all over the world. So you can imagine it's like a oiled machine, right? It's like they can grow a plant and have it in a store in 48 hours from the time it gets cut, you know what I mean? And it's anywhere in the world, which is amazing. So I went there like it was church, I was just like, oh my God, I'd go out to Aalsmeer, and I'd go to these greenhouse supply centers and walk around, and had no idea what I was looking at. I was just overwhelmed, But I started working for Sensi Seeds in '93, and so that kind of got me more on the smaller, got me more realistic size systems. Because the thing is, when I went to Aalsmeer, I just was like, where to start, right? You're talking about these $1 million greenhouses, and it just was way over my head. But when I started working at Sensi, we started with a very passive hydroponic system. It was like probably the most easy, least sort of active system that I've ever worked with, and it was they used a cement mixing container, the classic black ones, and they put a water level meter in the bottom, which is a plastic water level meter.
What up, Izzy?
Put an ion exchanger on the bottom, and that was the key to the whole thing, was this ion exchanger, right? So it was like little polymer balls, little red polymer balls, and you sprinkle that down to the bottom of the container, and you fill it up with hydrocool.
That's right. I almost forgot that.
Hydrostone too.
Shout out to G Mama Grove. She came through on her under bucket. Shout out to the under bucket. Y'all know we got to keep that networking thing going. That's what it's all about. This wax is hitting hard too. I'm gonna be fucked up in a minute. Boom, there you go. I gave her a wrench. Izzy in the building. Y'all know to go check out Izzy damn near every day. If she ain't live every day, make sure she's okay, right? Right. I gotta keep telling y'all know.
And you basically would put your rock wool blocks on top and top feed them until the roots made it to the bottom of the container. So you'd be top feeding very lightly, just kind of coaxing the roots down. And then once the roots got to the bottom where the water would be, because you'd fill your water level maybe, a couple inches at the bottom. And that was it. And it was like, that was their considered hydroponic system. I mean, that is technically it's hydroponics, but it's like so inactive. There was nothing happening, right? So I was always like sitting there watching it, going like, there's got to be more. Like, I'm so used to looking at these other systems. They've got injectors and they've got all sorts of stuff. So it felt like I wasn't involved enough, And so I ended up poking a hole in the bottom of it, right? Putting a drain in there, screwed everything up right out of the gate, because I let all the ion exchanger out, which I didn't get the whole system, but just those little polymers was the key to the whole system, because they took in extra, took in any kind of extra salts and things, and kept it away from the roots, and balanced the pH. Where once I got rid of it, I was like, oh, so I quickly learned, that it's with hydroponics, it's a system, and the system is important, but it's also really based on you, right? So if you, forget to do one thing or you contaminate something, and so I learned quite quickly that there's a lot of moving parts, and not in that system in particular, because that's why I was pissed off. I was like,
shout out to our friend Marshall. We almost got into it a minute ago, but we're gonna go back. Shouts out to that big homie, Mr. Seth Crew.
can strain whatever you want, you can get. Indica sativa, never rolling plain Jane. I know some people, if you want drop 50, we ain't gon' cop any. Little mama got plenty, so many strain pumping the flame, nothing but trouble. One for the brain, one for the body, one for the soul. Running with strange, keeping the party under control. Up away, flying, how far are we gonna go? Smoke team in the building, got 'em, it's what the deal is. Recognize coming with Burns, Felix, fulfilling County boy, got the liquor. Castle was on the fader, Stevie came with the greenery, mixing multiple flavors, whatever you want, homie. Tell me when to say when. How about you and your friends? Come get with me and my friends and keep it real with me, girl. I don't want to pretend like this is a new thing. Really, that's what it's been like.
All right, so we'll be back to that. 'Cause, you know, our video sponsor was in the building. He probably making a beat right now. Shout out to that big homie. Shout out to 10 people on Rumble. I'm trying to figure out this campaign. Come on, let me get it. Let me get it.
Based on you, right?
Accept and start.
You know, you forget to do one thing or you contaminate something. And so I learned quite quickly that there's a lot of moving parts, and not in that system in particular, because that's why I was pissed off. I was like,
the pages went down for that one. I don't want to see that. I want to see that. We had to have 33 to get that one. We had 10 to get that one, though. Yeah.
Things with lots of, I had to make it, which I realized down the road that was the exact reason why I stopped. You know, but in the beginning, I think it's because a lot of people are, you know, we're very into the tweaking, you know, like, and I felt like with my hydro systems that I was building, you know, I was really into the construction of it. So I went out and built my own aeroponic system. I looked online, it wasn't even online back then. I looked in a book. Oh, imagine that, a book. And I was looking at the systems, and it was like, oh, those are PVC pipes with little baskets in them. I can do that, you know what I mean? So then I went back to the supply center that I'd gone to, Ellesmere, with all these parts and stuff, and I started to just build them in the aisles. You know, I'd stand in the aisle and like, okay, if I take this sprayer and have to figure out the gallons per minute and, you know, try to figure out and calculate something that would work, and kind of bought all these little bits and pieces and took them back to my place. And we built this system, and it was amazing. Like, we overbuilt it because we had access to the best of the best when it came to like hydroponic equipment, right? So it was all like, you had to know what it was, right? So I was Frankensteining everything, like, oh, I'll take this piece and connect it to this one. So I had no idea what I was doing, but it made the system that worked.
Treasure hunters, what up though?
Too good. Like, it was way overbuilt.
For those who don't know, that's that big homie from the OG from the AZ. Y'all know, go check out the video sponsors, Pilgore and Dopey over there at Arizona Treasure Hunters. They're having a good time digging in coins. And I'll be there just like Mario one of these days, right? Shout out to the Mario coin reference, because you know that guy got them coins, right? Hey, shout out to the Mario Kart videos over on Spider Pig. I hope y'all enjoying them, because we are.
Classic, like, you know, later on when I realized how much I had UV for the water. I went full stop. You know, the water would be cleaned by UV.
Yep, that's why we got to set you over to buy me a coffee, Izzy. That way they can't turn off your money.
Spin, you know, so they make a lot of noise.
Any of your YouTube members, you can just gift them a membership and buy me a coffee.
Amsterdam, the apartments are small.
Hold on, let me repeat that so y'all can hear. Put me on camera too, right? Right. Shout out to Buy Me a Coffee. Not only can you gift memberships, so all your members on YouTube can be gifted members on Buy Me a Coffee, which keeps them on Buy Me a Coffee right there for you. You see what I'm saying? It gives them the incentive to go ahead and transcend to your Buy Me a Coffee. Oh, would you like a free membership on the Buy Me a Coffee? Yeah, well, get a membership on the YouTube. You know what I'm saying? You got to know how to do it. Boy, shut up. Damn. I got kids over here crying about games. Those ain't even real places. I'm over here trying to show people how to get some real money. Hell, he might get a new PS6, but he won't be this week. But anyways, that's like I was saying. You got to get that Buy Me a Coffee set up. That way you can gift your members memberships on the Buy Me a Coffee, which that way if they want to upgrade, then they'll pay for their upgrade. You see what I'm saying? Give them that free level 1, and they want that level 2 package, though. Shouts out to the level 2 package. You know how they look on mine. You know how it look on mine. If not, hit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description.
You have 16 amps of power. right? 16 amps for the entire apartment, including your fridge, including whatever else you got. So you start thinking about how you're gonna grow in a house with 16 amps. You know what I mean? It was always like a real struggle. So I built this system, had it all set up, turned it on, and within 5 seconds, I already knew I made a mistake. I was like, oh my God, I think I overbuilt this thing, right? And it started to, like 30 of those little sprayers were going off inside these things. And instantly my neighbor just starts banging on my ceiling, on his ceiling on my floor, right? I'm like, oh, now what do I got to do? You know what I mean? So then I realized this is never going to work. So I told the guy, oh, my washing machine was off balance. You know, I've made up some story, but then I realized, like, I can't even use this system. So I had to, like, dismantle that thing, go to slabs, you know, and just go real simple slabs with drippers, which, again, you know, with hydro, you can take it to whatever level you want as far as complications. And sometimes it's, you know, advantageous. I've seen systems that are amazing. Plants look great. But I know in my heart that when they harvest, whoever's cleaning this thing is going to go nuts. You know what I mean? Because that's the problem with hydroponics in general, in my opinion, is that your clean factor is so important. You got to really keep everything just uber clean. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was sort of my start, and then I realized, you know, I went and I did cocoa, and because I felt like cocoa was more closer to soil, you know what I mean? It had more of a vibe. But then,
yeah, that salt buildup inside the buckets from time and usage is definitely one of the things you got to look out for. You definitely want to get in there between each grow. That's why I'm glad I got the simple DWC with the buckets, because y'all already know how my bucket game is. So I got buckets to clean right now. You dig, keep them clean, and then keep them back in use. It's recycle, reduce, reuse, right?
cocoa has its own limitations also. You know, I feel like with like I've seen a lot of, I'd say a big percentage of people growing in the industry, you see, and like within, you know, and I never say it as a diss. I'm always like, oh, is this growing cocoa? And they're like, how did you know? You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's because it comes out in a certain band. They're like a certain, there's not, it's hard to go above a certain point. And luckily, though, the low points tend to be better than most. You know what I mean? So, like, the average guy has a cushion when he does cocoa, you know? Straight hydro, like, deep water culture is also my favorite when it comes to, like, mother plants and big plants. And if you want to grow, like, I mean, I've seen the biggest plants ever grown have been on DWC ever. Like, well, you know, besides outdoor, NorCal or something, or, you know, Oregon, but indoors, like strictly indoors. I saw a system one time, guy sent me a photo from Canada from back in the early 90s. And his setup was so simple, it blew my mind, because you could tell that this guy has run this over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. He knows his parameters, right? He would grow, he had them on milk cartons, right? So he had milk cartons stacked up with a DWC bucket on top of each one, so it's raised up off the ground, because the plant was perfectly round, right? And the bottom of it was, you know, stick, like, so it was, say it was, let me see where the camera is. So it was like up on one milk carton with a 5-gallon bucket, and then the lowest buds were coming right almost down to the ground, and the top ones were hitting almost the ceiling. And these things looked like an explosion. Like, it was like, wow, dude, amazing. And he sent me these photos in sync, and it was like empty room, and then veg room, and then full flower room. And between the empty room and the full flower room was like, you couldn't even imagine that those could be sustained by that simple 5-gallon bucket. But it was because he had a separate reservoir in another room with like a, you know, 200-gallon that fed with Texas controllers style, you know, the old, you know, Texas controller that it's just like the one main unit going to the other units. So you could never be able to do this, because they would suck up all the water in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Because these plants are just massive. But the funny part about it was he had all these photos, and then the last photo was like this humongous cop standing next to it, like huge, like 6'7" cop standing next to the plant like with a big smile, like, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so depressing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I saw the first two pictures. I was like, wow, this guy's doing great. Oh, not so great. Not so great at the end. But it was a classic Canadian setup too, because what he did is he had 9 DWCs, and I think he had 12 lights total, right? So he had 12,000 watts, classic, Canadian style hanging, right? No hoods. So 9 hanging bulbs, and then 12 hanging bulbs with 9 plants in between. So there was light on every side of every plant, and it was amazing. Like the setup was bare bone, super simple, massive. You know what I mean? And I think DWC is like, when you see roots coming out of those things, sometimes you just like, wow, like, it blows your mind, because you know that's, if you stretched all those roots out, they would fill the room. You know what I mean? Because they're just compacted out.
So you've done several different hydroponic systems in the past. I think a lot of folks make the mistake of thinking that hydroponics is only DWC. You know what I mean? But there's so many other systems out there. I mean, one of the ones that you didn't mention is flood and drain. Have you done that in the past?
I not for flowering so much. I used to do that with my vegging plants a lot of times. So I had a flood and drain table. I'd put all my blocks on there, and then once the roots were popping through, I drop them onto the slabs, or into the whatever system we were doing. So flood and drain is really good for that type of thing, because they're just going for it. But I felt like whenever I saw people doing flood and drain for flowering plants, you tended to get like, unless they were all monoculture, if they were all the same strain, okay, then it would be easier to maintain. But if you had a situation where you had multiple things going on, it was very hard to like lock them in, because you'd overwater one and underwater the other ones. You know what I mean? Because they get into these, they just have different capillary sort of action, and so you'd end up with like they were fine in veg, but in flower, I always felt like you'd overdo it sometimes, because they're in a different mode. When they're young, you can just throw whatever you want at them and they'll take it, But I feel like the idea of hydro is very enticing, especially to new growers. But what I tended to tell people was like, you're going to learn a lot more growing in soil, just because you're not so fixated on fixing the system every time, because you come in the room, you're like, oh, I got a leak over here. So you're not even looking at your plants anymore. You're looking at the leak, and you're working on that leak. And then you go to your plants. Whereas on soil, it's sort of like, unless it's a water situation, the only thing you really have to do, you come in, you're like, oh my God, they're all drooping. I got to water them before I can do anything. But that's about it. Otherwise, you're not so, worried about little things. So I think it's smarter, especially from the beginning. Like if you're a new grower, you're better off to work your way towards hydro instead of the other way around. Like, that's what I did. I did the exact wrong way. I went straight to the most complicated thing possible. And it's probably been like that all the way through. I still do the same thing. Try to sabotage myself.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when you're talking to a new grower and they want to do hydroponics, there are so many different ways to grow in hydroponics, right? What do you typically recommend for them to start out in? What style?
If you're dead set on doing it, I would say, actually, I would go more with cocoa, just because it kind of keeps them in that realm, so that the transition, when they decide that they do not want to grow with hydro anymore, they won't feel so like out of their element. You know what I mean? Because, and also, I feel like that the formulas that people have now for cocoa, because they're dialed it in so much better. Like in the beginning, there was a lot of issues because of the enzymes and because you didn't have the right. So if you didn't have a buffer, if the right buffer is within your food, you'd have a nightmare. You know what I mean? And that's what turned me off of cocoa down the road, was because I felt like I was pigeonholed into having to work with certain. I have to do this. I can't not do this. If I don't do this, they're not going to thrive. Whereas it felt like you had much more range when you were just kind of working on organic side. But I do think that with if, for instance, like kind of a hybrid version of is sometimes also good too, where you have you're giving people like earth boxes, things like that have like a wicking system, so that you're kind of in the automated feeding, but you're not quite there, you know. And
That shit not quite there. Let's go back to the big homie. You know, he got a video for us too. His members only video. So y'all know I'm getting y'all some exclusive content from the member side of being a member.
What's paranoid in the bustling city of Neutreville, a group of extraordinary individuals has emerged, known far and wide as the Superfood Parents. They are on a mission to transform their families' lives through the power of nutrition, one delicious bite at a time. Meet Chef Laquita Marie, the culinary mastermind behind the Superfood Parents playbook. With boundless enthusiasm, she welcomes you to embark on a thrilling journey to becoming a true superfood hero. But what exactly does that mean? In Neutreville, superfood parents are everyday heroes. These superfood parents lead the charge for better health, but not with capes. They lead with carrots and whole food fats like avocados. And instead of masks, they lead with mangoes and berries. Fruits and vegetables are disease destroying arsenal of heroes.
Shout out to my video sponsors at the Superfood Parents. Y'all know to go check them out.
Fruits and veggies heal
Quit playing with them
like
things.
Veggie Vixen. Are you a Veggie Vixen for your loved ones? Dedicated to ensuring your loved ones thrive on a diet rich in fats, fruits, and vegetables. Here's your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to guide your family to superhero status by reaching the highest levels of health and wellness daily. Become a plant-powered titan, a superfood adventure, or even a Thanks Crusader by earning 5 points for every fruit or vegetable eaten. It's a fun-filled quest where nutrition meets excitement. All of the digital details are at superfoodparents.com for the full experience. Superfood Parents has also created workbooks where you'll discover the tools you need for success. These workbooks give you the heroic strategies to craft your grocery list like a seasoned hero, which means you now have a playbook to keep track of everything else like a true champion. An engaging-minded, nutritional education with words such as that will keep your family entertained and informed. So, are you ready to join the ranks of the Superfood Parents? Are you prepared to unleash the power of faith and make every meal a heroic endeavor? If so, flip the page of the Superfood Playbook. Let's begin your journey to becoming the ultimate superfood hero.
To become a sponsor, just visit superfoodparents.com.
Man, we're going to say that for here in a minute. So we got to get back to that video topic that we're actually trying to get through here, right? Right. Y'all already see we got the Boondocks clips in there.
Kind of like a hybrid version of is sometimes also good too, where you have you're giving people like earth boxes, things like that, to have like the wicking system, so that you're kind of in the automated feeding, but you're not quite there, you know. And it is definitely important that you figure out what's comfortable for you, though, because like nothing worse than putting all your eggs, going into it so deep and then realizing at a certain point, like, oh man, we kind of wasted a lot of. How many times do you go to your friend's place and look in their garage and see like the remnants of all the grow systems that didn't make it? You know what I mean? It's just like I have a graveyard of things at my spot right now.
Yeah, some of these ways can be easier than others. Like, talking about beginner mistakes real quick. I've seen DWC systems where people try to be sort of hands off with it, and they go ahead and all of a sudden their EC is skyrockets. They feed too high of EC and their plants are dead overnight. You know what I mean? So it's like it can be a little bit more risky than some of the other methods of growing, in my opinion. And in organics, as let's transition to that now, there's so many different ways you can do organics as well, right? You can make your own soil mix and then feed in blends, organic blends from there. You can do individual amendments. You could buy bagged organic potting mix and then go from there. What's your style of organic? Like, how do you approach organic gardening?
Well, I'm lucky enough to live on a farm, so I have the ability to kind of, work with what's there, and also, if you're growing, and that's the thing is with hydro, it makes sense sometimes because, like, yeah, you're living in a place where you can't bring soil in and out and not look like complete nutcase. Like, what are you doing to this nice house coming into this? So there's always reasons for everything, right? And with me, with organic, like, so I right now I'm doing 3x3 cloth pots. It's the square ones, I like to grow with large containers. You know what I mean? I'm not interested. Like that's like when I see people growing on soil, but they're doing them in 1 gallons or 3 gallons or something, and they're feeding them. Like at that point, you're hydro. You know what I mean? You might as well grow hydro at that point because you are feeding them every single day. So for me, it's like about a two-day with a dry back kind of feeding schedule is about right. You know what I mean? Like I try not to, like I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to go down there every day, but also don't. I like to hand feed everything just because it's like that way. I mean, the numbers are not very. If it was a large scale grow, of course you're going to automate as much as you can. But when you're dealing with personal sized gardens, I think it's super important that you do hand water if possible, because it really connects you to the plant. Like you can, you pick up the pot, you check the weight, you know what I mean? If it's in a pot or if it's in a 3x3, you're giving it a couple of days, you see a little bit of droop, you come in, you feed. But I really feel like hand watering connects you to your garden a lot. Like it's really like important that you pay attention, obviously, too. And I'm always counting in my head. Like all I'm doing is walking around and counting everything. Like counting, like, okay, this one, check the weight. Okay, that's, kind of know in your head that's 30 seconds or, that's a minute. Oh, this one. And then, so I'm just constantly walking around and poking and prodding. And I feel like it's one of those things where I really don't like when people feed like on a schedule whenever they feel like it. Like it's really the plants. It's up to the plants. You know what I mean? So like if I go in and this one over here has not been feeding very much, well, I'm not going to give it anything. I'm going to let it dry out a little bit, because I've seen many people who it just becomes like a system where they're just like, doesn't matter, you know, whatever you didn't eat, too bad. Now you're getting more. You know what I mean? But then you'll see, you know, you can track those plants down the road, and you'll see they will not live up to the ones next to them, because they just, you know, they need a break for a day or so. So yeah, I think for me, like organic equals that idea of hand watering and you know, slow pace, not trying to. At the minute you want to set it all up and forget about it, that's when you need to think about Hydra at that point, because that's the kind of person, you know, if you want to set it up on your phone and be all high tech and, you know, check all your stuff, that's cool, and I appreciate it. And but a lot of times for me, it's like, it's a lot like I used to work on boats, right? I used to sail on boats, and a lot of times, like when you're on a small boat, you do everything by hand, right? Everything's by hand. You got to like go in there and adjust the trim on the sail, run back here. So,
Cheers,
but
brother.
if you're on a bigger boat, everything's automated. You know what I mean? You just boop, boop, hit a button, boop, 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 boop. And so, for me, I like the idea of running around and doing adjusting things, because it keeps me in the moment. You know what I mean? And it also makes me like know, like I know when I'm going to bed, like, oh, I got to go back and check that, because it's like you're connected to your garden more. The minute you like have it all on your computer or it's on your phone or whatever, it's like you're waiting for your phone to tell you that your plants are not good. You know what I mean? It's like you lost your little heart connection to your plants at that point, because you're like, oh, it'll take care of it. And oh shit, my phone's dead. Oh no, you know what I mean? Like things, you know, too late, too little, too late. And we've all left the reservoir running and ran up to somebody rang on the doorbell and you forgot, and you went and started doing something else, you know what I mean? And then had that heart drop moment where you're like, oh my God. And I've done it more than most, I'd say, but it still makes you laugh at yourself though sometimes, which is always a good thing. Exactly. Right? When you're like, I can't believe I just did that again. Right.
When it comes to like the fertilizer, do you typically do like the organic blends? Do you do individual amendments? Do you do compost or worm castings? What do you do for that?
I'm kind of a little guilty of all of the above, in the sense of I usually re-amend all my soil. Like because I'm doing it 3x3s, I will, and I'm, you know, I've played around with no-till. I like it, but the problem is that I'm also nervous about any kind of pathogens or any kind of problems kind of kicking in and having to, like, you know, like once you have soil that
you got a white no-till, right?
Into it, you know what I mean? It becomes
yeah,
super
shout out
critical
to that no-till army.
that you can keep it
Man,
maintained.
saying we got support
And
for
I also
your
have
own team.
sponsors in the show, so I got like, you know, 565 soil. I've got access to all. So I'm like, well, you know, in an ideal world, of course, I would, you know, be living on my farm, re-amending my stuff and keeping it all biodynamic and within the actual confines of the property, you know what I mean? But when you have people dropping off pallets of soil to you, you're like, I'm probably going to use soil, you know what I mean? I'm not going to go out and make my own soil when I have people delivering me beautifully made products. So I'm doing a lot of testing, which makes it harder to kind of maintain one system. So, like for instance, what I'll usually do is I'll have all fresh soil. That's what I just said. You know, we got much appreciation for no-till. And then eventually I'll take all that soil. If I go outside, that's exactly what I will be setting up as soon as I do it. Like, fuck it. Different part of the garden, you know. So it's a beautiful thing. I got
make sure it might be in the budget.
You know, we got cows and chickens and horses and things on the property, so it's like a constant
fencing in and then doing outdoor growth.
You know what I mean? And that's where I love the idea of. And that's why I feel like if you have a situation like that,
you just got to do the area where you're growing, right? Right. See, be smart about it. Or I can just throw up a greenhouse and throw in some no-till beds in there, right?
And I also work with Cultured Biologics, who's also, I think Tim was on your show recently. And I mean, you know how, I mean, talk about a wealth of knowledge, right? That guy, amazing. So like when you get somebody like that, super passionate, and I'm testing out their products and I'm like blown away by the quality. I mean, anybody who's listening to this, if you go back and listen to the show with Tim, you will realize, I'm sure, how incredibly intelligent he is, but also passionate, and the quality of the products coming out of his thing is amazing. Like I've night and day. Like I literally, and it's powdered, which is great. You know what I mean? The Eon line, at least. I mean, he's got new stuff coming out, but the Eon line, which is what I've been running, wow, it's like it is. It really feels like you're treating your plants super special every time you feed them. You're just like, man. And like his supplements, his liquid supplements, nitrogen. He's got a nitrogen, phosphorus, and he's got like some saponins and
Oh, that's the first thing that we're
all
gonna
those
do when we
products.
get
I
back to
can't
being
believe
we the
somebody hit
people.
him up with it. You know, you get that
We the
extra
people
special
free.
feeling when
We
you
didn't
walk
wait for
back
the
in.
government to do shit.
It's great, like
Fuck them
amazing.
dudes. They already had their
Yeah,
chance.
the amount of growth that comes off
Yeah.
his nitrogen one. I dropped one
It ain't
recently,
hard to
and
come up with a
it really
policy for
smells.
weed that works
It
for
doesn't smell
everybody.
bad.
It's
Kind of
just
a weird
simple.
smell. It's
Stop
got like
letting
a
them people
smell
tell
of
you
like
what the
a
fuck to
locker
do.
room, like kind of like high school locker room funk, which is, you know, if you
Yeah,
know it,
they
you
already
know it.
said if you
And
label it hemp, you can
it's
mail the
like
shit
it's a
anywhere you
weird,
want.
but it's like yeah, it's just this weird vibe, but it's
Yeah, get your
oh my
label
god,
right.
the plants.
Yeah, fix your label.
So yes, I have the ability to work with a lot of cool products,
Hey,
which makes it kind of like
what kind of business do
my
you run?
curse
I run an
is
indoor
that I'm
gardening
always changing
consultant
my
business.
stuff
Why do you
up.
think
Like
it's an
my
indoor
mom grows
gardening
nuts, right? My
consultant
mom grows
business?
the
I don't sell nothing but plant supplies.
she'd be such a better grower without me around because she's so consistent with her stuff. Like she's
Now, the
just,
plants that
you know,
people grow in the systems
just
I've recommended, I
consistently
don't know
nails
what
it.
the hell
And
they are.
she's her
I
dad
just was
was
supposed
the
to sell them
grandfather
the
with the
system.
garden, right? So she pretty much just
Because we're
has
going to
it
spend a lot
in her
on it,
system,
right?
and she never like every time
Right.
there's a fuck up, it's because I tried to do something.
Okay,
Like,
y'all got me
hey,
sounding like
and then
I'm
she'll
going
come
back
in
to
and
jail.
what are you doing? You know, I was like, oh, I was just trying this new thing, though. And so I my probably
Man, live
my
free or
guilt,
die hard.
my worst thing about growing from my personal point of view is that I'm always trying new things, which I mean, I feel like it's part of the nature of the beast, right? Like you always want to improve on things, but and it's a little bit like fashion. If I look at photos
There's
from 5
five
years ago,
blunts
I'm like,
rolled
what was
up
I
real
doing?
quick.
Like, what the hell was I doing there?
Oh, Dad's got to
Why are
have
my
his
plants so
blunts too,
dark?
right?
You know what I mean? Like, I'm way overfeeding them. I'm always critiquing all my old stuff, and it's amazing how each time you do something, you feel like it's the best you've ever done, or sometimes, hopefully it is, and there's no more room for improvement. But then, lo and behold, you look back a year later, and you're like, oh, there was so much room for improvement. It's very similar to the whole concentrate game and all the different things you see, the evolution of things, and how quickly they go up. And you're like, if you look at a photo again from like 10 years ago, you're just like, what is that? Like,
You said, what is that? Back to the commercials.
I need that wine. We made some tea. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the bloke you're stealing from. The name's Alistair Rigby, but as far as you're concerned, I'm Willy fucking Wonka, and you're taking a shit at my fucking chocolate factory. Easy, boss. Don't get upset. When I have to go to the dentist, I'm upset. When Liverpool beats Arsenal, I'm upset. But when some little shit decides to take over one of the most profitable territories in the country, I'm beyond fucking upset. I'm very fucking upset. So, from now on, you're under new management. You will work for me, but in return, you'll receive an allowance.
Allowance?
Yes, allowance. As in, I'm allowing you to keep 10%, and I'm allowing you to keep drawing breath on this earth. Now, you either get down or you lay down. What's it gonna be, sunshine?
This wasn't no move. The smart thing was to say yes, get up, and leave the room. But then I thought to myself, what if this was a movie? Look, fuck you, fuck the plane you flew in on, fuck them shoes, fuck the socks with the bell on it, fuck your gay ass fairy faggot accent, fuck them cheap ass cigars, fuck your yuck mouth teeth, fuck your hairpiece, fuck your chocolate, fuck Guy Ritchie, fuck Prince William, fuck the Queen. This is America. My president is black and my Lambo is blue, nigga. Now get the fuck out of my hotel room. And if I see you in the street, I'm slapping the shit out of you.
I think this one spent so much time in the cinema. Touching this chick.
Fucking me. Oh man, this is bad.
Oasis, a car seat call for the Sopranos reunion. Do me a favour. Tell room service nobody here ordered the extra large whop with a side order of whop.
Wow.
And there's no more room for improvement. But then, lo and behold, you look back a year later and you're like, oh, there was so much room for improvement. It's very similar to the whole concentrate game and all the different things you see, the evolution of things and how quickly they go up. And you're like, if you look at a photo again from like 10 years ago, you're just like, what is that? Like, couldn't even identify it. So yeah, I think it's nice to try different stuff, but at the same time, you know, if you can lock in on something that works for you, a good rule is to continue that same thing, you know, because you will improve on it. Or just be like me and always try something different.
I'm just like you, where I'm always doing something different. I mean, some of my viewers have complained because they watch my videos and they're like, hey, you're not still doing that method? Why? What happened? Is there something wrong with it? It's like, no, I'm just trying something new. There's so many different ways to go about it. When it comes to organics, I was growing, I was using the Earth Dust Nutrients by the Green Sunshine Company. They went out of business. Craft Blend by Build a Soil. Now I'm using KISS Nutrients Pack, KISS Organics Nutrient Pack. But man, you're making me want to try Tim's.
Oh, Tim's is amazing. And you know who else is also amazing? I'm sure you've had him on the show before. Is Dragonfly.
Why don't you fuck up, Sally?
I haven't had him on yet. No.
You need to have them on. Yeah, they're up in Canada, and they have a complete biodynamic formula. Duke uses a lot of their stuff, and I'm just they're one of the ones in the group. Like I'd say, out of all the people that are in the industry, they're like 100% doing it the right way. You know, like there's no. They do not skimp on anything. Like not a single input that's in any of their products is not 100% certified organic. Like there's no like, oh well, we're not 100% sure. No, it's like even if like product that went into the compost possibly wasn't organic, they don't touch it. You know what I mean? So it's amazing. There's some, you know, that's the thing with I think people tend to always think that it's like one extreme or the other, and that's why I really feel like a kind of a combination of everything is what kind of works for everybody. And if you notice, like companies like Veganics, right, back in the day, you know, everybody thought if you look at it, go look into that label and look into it. It's not vegan. It's not vegan. There is 2%, maybe 3% not organics. You know what I mean? But that's all it takes, right? So if you want to be extreme, you have to be like Dragonfly Earth Medicine and do a real, right? You just can't really bottle organics and truly have a proper product because it's like that 2%. It's not even important 2%. It's like it's what's really making it do its thing. So, you know, organic has its place, but it has to be very, you know, you also have to be a little bit like forgiving on some things too, because I feel like you want to give the plant the best things it can get, you know, and not limit itself. But yeah, you should try. You definitely need to try the culture. It's amazing.
Now, are you also doing some of the, I like to call optional methods, which is like cover crops, mulch layers, things that aren't really required when growing organically, but people do it as well in order to try to get a better result? There's benefits to doing those things.
I do like cover crops, mostly because I feel like it helps the soil not dry out too quickly. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you get that dusty top zone where you just feel like there's not much life in the top 2 inches, you know, and that's really where you want more biodiversity. So, like, you know, I'll tend to grow clover and barley and things like that. And sometimes in between, like a lot of times if I'm not, like if there's any, like when I'm finished with the crop, I'll just throw a bunch of seeds in there just to keep the life rolling in that thing so it doesn't get all dead on you, you know? So, but I won't do it as like that is my only nutrients are the you know, go in there and cut all the things down and let it go back in and that's it. Like I'm still, you know, coming from the world of just, I want to see some action, you know, I want to see some action go down.
Now, we're talking about hydroponics versus growing organics. There's a couple things that are kind of controversy, which would be yield and then flavor. Let's start with yield. Did you personally notice a difference in yield when growing organically versus hydroponically?
100%. Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, the thing about growing on hydro is you do achieve sometimes amazing results when it comes to yield, right? Because you are basically, fog-wowing these things, right? You're force feeding them, you're giving them whatever, you're maxing them out on their EC, you're pushing the plants to its limit. I've seen massive plants, especially recently too, because like I go and tour all these gardens, and it's beautiful to see, but I also know that there's PGRs in there, and I'm not really interested in smoking any of it because I don't feel it's healthy. But I see some phenomenal growth. You know what I mean? Like it's some amazing results. So yields tend to suffer a little bit in organic. Not all the time. No, there's certain situations. It really depends on your location and whatever your inputs are. Because organic growing, for instance, outdoors, I wouldn't even compare it. You know what I mean? Because you're never going to get a salty plant to grow as big as an organic plant outdoors in a large scale, just because it will not. There's nothing to sustain it at that point. Whereas when you're growing organically outdoors on a scale like that, just the amount of assistance that's going on within the mycorrhizal and the rhizosphere.
Yeah, let's go back and get to the person that agrees with him about what he just said.
Yeah. So like Fox Farms though, like I noticed so if you're going to plant some Fox Farms Ocean Forest, you're saying, you plant a plant in there and you veg it out for like 2 months and you get that plant monstrous and you're ready to flip it into flower. Now you have to add amendments to there because there's nothing left in it.
Back up just a little bit. When you say you planted it for a couple months and it took off monstrous, do you know what's in that makes that plant grow?
Synthetic salts.
It's pretty much what it is, but it's ammonium nitrate. So they spray this ammonium nitrate on sawdust, and that ammonium nitrate is like acid on a fucking slug. So think of the organic biology that's in there. It's killing. They put that on there. You can throw a pile of that. It's called nitralized sawdust, is what the industry calls it, as an amendment to mix it, and that's what they buy. Roots Organic, a bunch of them do that as an amendment, and that's their nitrogen pack. And then they tell you they put a bunch of guano and they do other stuff. They don't put shit on it. That's what it is, and that's the reason the difference between a good quality soil and them. And you just explained it. It's shot up and it's roots and veg, and it did really well. But the thing is, missing is that now, like if you do in my soil or some good soil, it's not my soil. The difference between mine, and Fox Farm and all the case studies. Fox Farm with ammonium nitrate in the soil, that plant will shoot up really quick. It grows quick, and it's what tomato plants, we call it tomato, but same thing with tomato and cultivar, is it shoots up really quick. And it puts off a few tomatoes, and the wind comes and that plant has no structure, and it falls over, and it's lanky, right? My soil versus the same tomato plant, you got a fucking heavy stock, you got this plant that just fucking sits up and this thing, and it's putting off tomatoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. And why does mine do that? Because I have a living soil concept behind it. I want you to grow with bacteria. I want you to grow with fungi. I want you to do everything that is healthy in that plant. The last thing you want to do is feed ammonium nitrates in the tomato to your kids at the dinner table. Once you know, you know.
So this is day 3 of the KOV challenge.
Shouts out to our level 2 5
So
coffee member.
one of the things that we're supposed to do
I'm
is
gonna go visit
ask
Melinda
questions.
Elliott.
And one of the questions I'm interested in is, what do you think about my channel? When I started this channel, I started it, well, for me, I'm a type A personality and I needed to relax. I have some disabilities that are related to stress. And it seems like people like them and watch them. But you guys tell me what you think. Bye.
Give it gas when I'm in the competition getting.
And we'll come back for this.
even compare it, you know what I mean? Because you're never going to get a salty plant to grow as big as an organic plant outdoors at a large scale, just because it will not, there's nothing to sustain it at that point. Whereas, you know, when you're growing organically outdoors on a scale like that, just the amount of assistance that's going on within the mycorrhizal and, you know, the rhizosphere is a completely active place. Whereas if you go into hydro, the rhizosphere is devoid of action. You know what I mean? It's like there's things going, there's roots growing, but there's hardly any, you know, life down there. And so for me, the key to the whole thing is everything helps each other, right? So if you're growing, but then on the opposite end of the spectrum, when it comes to flavor, hands down 100% organic every time. Like there's not even a question. Like, and people can say, "Oh yeah, I can grow it, so you know, people can't tell the difference." Sure you can. But I bet if somebody else grew it organically, it would taste better than what you know what I mean? It's just like it really comes down to like you cannot compare them, because you know the cardboard turps you get off of Athena is not going to ever compare to a properly grown organic garden. Just it ain't happening. I'm sorry, you know, and people can, because a lot of times people will be like, no, but not from experience, only from, you know, they smoked that, they think it tastes good, but they don't know what else could be there. You know what I mean? There's so much more that can be there. And yeah, definitely from an actual wanting to smoke it point of view, like we did a thing called the ADSI, which is the Adam Dutch Invitational. We did it, I think 2014, 15, 18, and every single time, top 3 organic. This is all blind, and this is by the growers. Like, you know, we did the classic where if you enter, you get to test. So it wasn't like, you know, randos. It was like you entered hydro, but you picked organic. So therefore, that just tells me it wins right there. You know what I mean? Like the growers themselves see it and appreciate it. So yeah, I think you can't really beat it. Now, what about bud structure? I heard some people say bud structure is compromised when you're growing with hydroponics. For example, they have grown the same cultivar, same cut, in organic versus hydroponic, and they've got more denser bud structure, the organic side of things. But hydroponics, it's more airier, fluffier bud structure. What are your thoughts on that? Oh yeah, I think that's true too. I mean, it comes down to genetics a little bit there also. So sometimes you'll have certain ones that just respond better to the situation. You know, the thing about hydro is it's a lot of water weight, right? So you've got this like the massive, you know, expansion and large watery cells. You know, it's very similar to like, and then if you take organic growing, it's like the cell structure is tighter. You know, the cell walls are thicker. So when you take a cell wall that's thicker and you dry it out, then you have more mass, right? So theoretically, and it's denser, so you don't get this big expansion and then retraction, right? That's like big bud, right? When I was in Holland, right? Because the Dutch are very they're very money orientated. They're not so, you know, flower orientated. They love their money. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's flowers for the Keukenhof or if it's, you know, whatever it is, it's about the bottom line. That's all the Dutch really care about. That's why Americans who go there really shine when it came to breeding, because we really were about flavors and about all these things that they weren't about. They were only about size, smell, and money. It's kind of that's their goal, right? How big is it? What does it smell like? How much money can I get? You know, and so we were more like, you know, how does it smell? How does it taste? And does the joint even burn? You know what I mean? Because that would be the other thing too. You get people just pack them up with food and don't really flush it properly, and you end up with some terribly burning. And so, but what I also noticed too, and you as you go higher up in altitude, you know, your plants change too, and that's one of the things where I almost compare like a high altitude plant to a organic growing plant, and a valley, like a low valley plant, to a hydro plant, because the low valley plant gets a lot of water, right? Grows really tall and thin and kind of just massive biomassy kind of situation. And as you go up into the mountains, the same genetics would be short and more compact to insulate them better, and also to be more efficient. And as the UV increases, as you go higher up and the UV increases, it it shortens everything down. Like, so if you go to the top of a mountain and see the trees at the top, they're a lot shorter and tighter and more compact. And as you go down the mountain, it gets bigger and bigger. When you get to the bottom, they're really big and just water. So it's kind of like similar in the sense that you get this density issue. And that density is what I believe is the part that we were saying as far as like, because I've seen a lot of plants grown in hydro, which, you know, they fill up the area, but you can just see that there's not much there. You know what I mean? Like they have this, especially all the Cali strains, all these new Cali strains are really lame. I'm sorry to say it. They're really lame to grow. You grow them and you're like, what? That's it? Like they don't ever explode, you know? They don't have that vigor that you were looking for. And I feel like it's almost like all of us old-time growers, we're always going back to the 90s, right? Oh, the 90s, big, giant Williams Wonder. But, you know, we had like, because everything counted, right? Like it was like, you get one shot, you know, you get one shot, kid, and then you got to get it to make it happen. Whereas now the pressure's off as far as like, you know, you're running a licensed facility. There's no pressure beyond doing a good job. But what's funny is that because of that, people gotten a lot less focused on, you know, like all of the above strains that you want, which is like good yields or good strength and power and does all the things you want. They're just going for like the one, all they're going for is extraction. That's pretty much like, that's how people's brains are. So like whatever they take it, does it wash well, right? When somebody asks me, does it wash well? I'm usually like, off. You know what I mean? Like, really? That's all you care about is washing the plant? You don't even care about the plant? Because the plants that wash well are not the plants that smoke well. The plants that smoke well tend to be, you know, individual nice buds that are really like get a chance to mature properly, and they're not always like runny little plants. But the ones that are runny or the ones that are loose, they're really good for making extracts, you know? So you're like, you don't want to like your really good flower plant that's got nice compact beautiful buds. They're hard to get into to make the product, so by the time you get into them, you've tore them all up, and now you've created more, you know, just more chlorophyll in the system or more plant matter. Whereas if you get plants that are, you know, like just easy, there are lots of trikes on both sides, it's easy to get to, knock it all off really quickly. You're hand paddling, you know, everybody's doing it by hand, so they don't want stuff that you have to break it up, you know, and if you have to break it up, you're causing more, you know, quality control issues at that point. So yeah, I think definitely, and also the other thing too, the number one thing I see problems with is pH on hydro systems, right? I'll walk in and I'll be like, oh, you got a pH problem. They're like, oh, what are you talking about? No, you know, dude, you got a pH problem. I'm telling you right now. Look at everything. It's all single leaves. It's all like looking really stressed out. You know what I mean? And that's the problem with hydro is that, you know, you're creating all of the boundaries, and therefore there's a huge chance they're messing it all up. You know what I mean? Because you are a human, and you are not like the plants have no problems. If you give them everything they need, they'll figure it out, right? And they'll take it in as they need to take it in. But when you're doing hydro, you don't give them a chance because they only have a very limited window to feed, which is like when the timer kicks on, right? So the timer kicks on, they're feeding, they get a little bit of remnants at the end of it all, and then it's just drying out and, you know, hopefully expanding roots, etc. But when it's on soil or it's on, you know, organically, it's like, it's kind of like they have a smorgasbord set up in front of them, you know? So they're like, oh, well, I want one of those. Let me have some of that, you know? And at the same time, the mycorrhizal.
Yes, good time. Give some gas.
Give it gas when I'm in the competition, getting fast, living fast, furious, staying on track, never worry when I'm spinning. Last better get it back, ride for my dog, alphabeted on us, you gon' get it back, never split this pack. Whenever I witness cap, we ain't fucking with your fiction, facts, your conviction lacks. When I get up in my bag, I'ma spend, we ain't tripping off tax, clipping this tag, working on my wish list, cooking this cake, let me flip this stack, you a flash in the pan, while you relax in a can, but deep in the pack, this a damn, putting tracks in the sand, pushing my craft to the fan, got the people all clapping their hands, putting putting gas in my brand, keeping my octane high, my grade at premium, not 8.9 or 8.7. And when I run across state line, I'm 9.1, I gun it. Clock great time, my time come. Disappearing in the dark horizon. Way I cut turns, I'm as sharp as diamonds. Got them on tilt like a car's alignment. This is raw refinement, not a hard assignment. I'ma give it gas, give it gas. Bitch.
Roots, etc. But when it's on soil or it's on, organically, it's like it's kind of like they have a smorgasbord set up in front of them, So they're like, oh, well, I want one of those. Let me have some of that, and at the same time, the mycorrhizal and other things are, getting it ready for the plants and setting it all up, and then they come in and scoop up that, you know what I mean? So there's a lot more going on that we don't get, and you'll never get, because it's, at a microbial level, and it's not your decision to make, so yeah, I think most of the mistakes would probably be human error, on hydro, which is something we can avoid. But with organic, you just kind of try to create the environment for them to do their thing.
That makes sense. I definitely want to get into cost perspective here. There are folks that are on a budget, right? They don't want to be spending hundreds or potentially even thousands of dollars, depending on how big they set up they want to have to get started. So from a cost perspective, talk to us about hydro versus organic.
So by far, obviously, organic would be cheaper to get into. Now, when you start talking about cost per pound and on industrial levels and things like that, after the initial input, because the thing about hydro is you got to buy the system, right? So you buy the system, and then a lot of people that are like, yeah, but I bought it once and I can just reuse it over and over and over again. So that in their mind is their cost saving factor, right? There's still inputs, right? You still got your cocoa or your rock wool or whatever medium that, unless you're growing on, so like DWC would probably be the cheapest format of going into it, because you really only have to buy that cocoa block each time, or that rock wool block each time to put on top, for the most part. Whereas, and so really it comes down to from a beginner point of view, costs are kind of negligible because we're not talking about a big system. So it might cost a little bit more for hydro, but at the end of the day, like if they were to take their cost per gram or whatever, it would end up being cheaper on organic in the long run, but in the short run, because you can sort of say, hey, I spent $27 and I got a pound. Okay, so there you go. That's a pretty good ratio. Whereas a lot of times with organic stuff, the initial costs, depending on what you're doing. I mean, if you go to Build a Soil, who's another sponsor of my show, and he's got every range possible, right? You can also spend quite a lot of money on organic stuff too. So it really depends on what you want to do. But you can also go like those guys at Dragonfly Earth Mason. They quoted me at $5 a pound for their organic. That's what their costs are. So $5 a pound is pretty damn cheap. I don't think you're gonna get much cheaper than that. And that's because, of course, they're they're using everything within their farm, so they're very rarely putting much more inputs in it. It took them a long time to get there, and I'm sure there was initial costs all the way along, but you definitely can grow cheaper if you live in the right place organically. Like if you don't live in the right place, it's not going to make much sense, but you're going to grow, especially if you're doing anything greenhouse or outdoor, anything large, because when you start thinking about, I've seen people do it, like hydroponics outdoors. You're like, what is wrong? You're like, what are you doing over here? Really going against the grain as hard as you can. But in a small scale, I think cost-effective wise,
say go ahead and do outdoors too. Hell, there ain't nothing but an NFT outside. Come on now.
But at the same time, when you're growing on scale to for large licensed producers and stuff, they're going to look at it like they're going to have a better time with hydroponics because it's easier for them to calculate the inputs and the outputs, because there's a very simple formula that keeps repeating itself over and over again. You know, it's kind of my way of looking at it.
Got it. Yeah, it can be super cheap organic. They have a closed loop operation, right? Which is kind of what you were explaining that farm has, which is basically they're using their own inputs that they're creating. I mean, you can even go down the natural farming route, right? With the fermented plant juice, fermented fruit juice, all that stuff. And it gets really, really cheap then.
And I think that's actually, it's one of the latest advancements in agriculture that even though it's ancient technologies, the fact that everybody's tuned in on it now. And it was maybe 4 years ago or something like that. I think it's the first time I even ran across ferments, you know what I mean? And my friend had them in his garden, and I was like, what's this? He's like, oh, I made that out of peaches, and I made this one out of mangoes. And I was like, really? Oh, wow. And I, didn't really, his gardens were nice, but I wasn't like, oh my God, blown away. But then later, flavor-wise, I started to he gave me some from that round, and I was just like, man, this stuff's amazing taste, right? And then so I started to gravitate towards it, and then now, of course, Miles is making some awesome ferments, and teaching everybody how to do it, which is really important too. I think that's the one thing, because we have access to all this fresh new material, right? It's turn it into ferments. It makes so much sense. And so when you can make ferments from your own plants and then reintroduce it into your own garden, it's it's the difference between working with, a local compared to importing in every time. Because when you import stuff in, everything has to establish itself. But when you have local, you have local inputs, it gives you that much of a head start, and everything's that everything can survive because that's where it comes from. So yeah, it's huge. I have yet to try some of these natural farming techniques, the fermented plant juice, fermented fruit juice, but it really is my goal to not spend any money on organic fertilizer. If I could spend no money on fertilizer in the future, that would be a huge win. So I'm not there yet, but maybe I'll get there in the future. Well, I think also worms, having your own little worm bin going is always a good move. Just don't let them dry out. That's my problem. Out here it's so dry. I think, you come back, you're all sad. You just lost hundreds of worms. Come back. But yeah, worms are great. If you can get them in your garden, that's a huge bonus right there.
Yeah, I get the worm bit going, and yeah, so I'm working. I'm getting there. But I feel like at the end of the day, when it talks about hydro versus organic, I have some people ask me, what's better? And the follow-up question should always be, what's better for what? What are you looking for? Are you looking to grow plants fast?
I had to go on one team or the other, go team organic, just because of my feelings of a consumer. If it was a producing situation and that's all you care about is the numbers and production, people might want to go down that road. But if you're doing it for yourself and you are the recipient of all of this material, you're doing yourself no favors by limiting your organic and being and going with it. Because really, at the end of the day, when it comes to food or anything that I'm putting in my body, I really want to focus on having organic. I'd rather spend the extra money to have organic than try to cut corners. And I feel like with anything that you're consuming on a daily, just think that way, because there will be a reckoning at some point when you figure out down the road, wow, and smoking all this PGR might look really good, but it's not good for you. I'm telling you, it's 100% not good for you. And you can really see the difference. And we were saying earlier about the organic compared to hydro. Really, it's the PGRs. That's the number one issue right now, and that's the problem with most of the hydro formulas. Unless they specifically tell you that they're not in there, they probably are in there. You know what I mean? It's almost like if you want to get corn products, right? If it doesn't say it's organic, you can guarantee it's GMO and it's been grown with Roundup. You know what I mean? So you probably don't want to consume it at that point. So I always feel like with anything like that, you're better off to take the slow road and have a quality product at the end that you can feel is safe.
Well said. Well, we could get deeper and deeper into both aspects, but we're going to wrap things up here.
You know what I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to invite you to my show. And then you can go nuts. You can be with the Mr. Grow you've always wanted to be. I'm swearing.
Smoking
Yeah, you
blunts.
definitely come on the show sometime and hang out with us. It'd be great.
That would be cool. That'd be cool. Tell the listeners where they could find you and what you have upcoming in the future.
So it's every Friday. We're about to do a show in a few hours now, but it's every Friday, 4:20 to 7:10 Mountain Time. 3-hour show. We do, we have lots of interesting guests, but we also, we're not strictly a grow show. One day, the next day it could be CBD, the next day it could be THC stuff, the next day, it could be anything, any and above of all different subjects. So it makes it great. It could be hempcrete one day. But we have, we've had some great guests this year. It's like so far we're only in February, and we've had Ed on here, Ed Rosenthal on here, Tommy Chong, and all the big hitters come on every so often. But our show is very much like a hangout, So it's a little bit less of a tell you what to do, more just come hang out with us, enjoy your Fridays.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to come on that. I
Some of
appreciate
that
the invite.
Afghan wax I got.
Good. Looking forward to it.
Well, Adam, it's been a fun talk. Definitely, I'd love to hear your perspective on organics and hydroponics. Definitely learned a lot of things about you, and you've been doing this for a very, very long time. So really good insight. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. Those tuning in, click the thumbs up if you enjoyed this episode. Also,
anyways, y'all know to go check out Mr. Groden and his guest. Y'all heard him announce their social, so you know to head on over there. But in the meantime, we got our exit video.
I just got out of the shower. There's some juice on the table.
Take your time. You want to explain to me what you're doing here? I came looking for booty. You came looking for sex with an underage boy? Oh, no, I ain't come looking for no little boys. I ain't got no milk, no cookies, nothing. I came looking for man's butt. A man's butt? Excuse me? Oh, I know who you are, Chris Hansen. But see, I call you Chris Hansen. I watch your TV show all the time. So you can go ahead and bring them cameras and them police is waiting outside. It don't make me no difference. Now, I tell you what, I like you and I want you. Now, we can do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours. Well, I don't think you and I will be doing anything any kind of way. Okay, I see you choosing the hard way. Okay, cut. This isn't working. Someone get this guy out. Oh, you ruined that fight. I'm a warrior.
I think that was right when they said that about Fridays. That shit is just not funny when you see it, no matter who you are. Yeah, but anyway, y'all know to have a nice day. I ain't doing nothing but fucking around, finding out, right? Right. Yeah.